Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Philly Blunt. My name's Johnny Goodtimes,
Yo, this is Greg.
and who knows where Reef is? Well, he'll be here any minute. He's at the beach, and it's a beautiful night, so we're not gonna rush him. He'll get here when he gets here. But we're excited to have our guest tonight. We are talking with a man that TheNation.com recently called the most interesting politician in Philadelphia. He's already annoyed.
How about that?
And so we're gonna find out how that has changed his life. We're gonna talk a little bit about his book, because he's written a book, I believe, about offices in the United States, and I'm kind of fascinated to hear what he thinks the difference in offices is going to be coming out of the pandemic. So a lot to talk about tonight. We're excited to have Nikil Saval. Nikhil, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk. First of all, you're up against Larry Farnese, and you're up against somebody for Vince Fumo's old seat. So we're carrying on a very interesting tradition, depending on where you're coming from. But Farnese is kind of considered by a lot of people, when you compare him to Philadelphia politics, to be fairly left-wing. So you're running left of that. Why was that the seat that you decided to run for? And do you feel like he's already somebody that's fairly left?
It's a good question. A number of people have asked that. Well, so in terms of running for a seat, I mean, you sort of run where you live. And I hadn't planned on hunting districts and trying to find a place. I mean, I hadn't moved to this area to try to find a place to run for office. But I did feel that as someone, so I come into this as we mentioned my book. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist. I write for magazines, and I write about architecture. I write about housing, but I've also just done a lot of organizing in Philadelphia. I was an organizer with Unite Here, the hospitality workers union. I co-founded a progressive group called Reclaim Philadelphia, which came out of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016. And I was an elected ward leader in South Philly in the 2nd Ward, where I live in Queen Village, Bella Vista. The New Wave, which is in the background over there, is just at the heart of the 2nd Ward. It's the beating heart of the ward. And so I've just been part of the movement for change in the district and in community organizing and boosting turnout in our area and in getting more and more people involved. And so I just feel that this district, the district that Senator Farnese is the incumbent in, which is Center City, South Philly, east of Broad Street. It's also got the River Wards, Fairmount, Brewery Town, parts of Brewery Town, Graduate Hospital, Chinatown. It runs southwest along Passyunk all the way to the airport. It's basically the district in Philadelphia, in my opinion. And It should just be the leading district. And I think we should have a senator who is active and who is the leading senator in Pennsylvania. And I have a lot of respect for Senator Farnese and a lot of what he's done. But I just feel that we could do more. We could have a senator who is proposing legislation about housing, about climate change. We could have a senator who is bringing more money to affordable housing in the district. We could have a senator who has not been indicted. That would be an achievement.
Right direction.
The last 3 have been indicted or arrested, right?
Yeah.
Unless
unicorn in Philadelphia politics.
Yeah.
People are like,
anything can happen.
Who's Mr. Fancy with his lack of convictions?
Yeah. Right. Well, no, only 2 are convicted. Larry was acquitted.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
What? If he can avoid arrest, that'd be great, or indictment, that'd be fantastic.
So
it could happen.
So let's take a step back. And you said this was born out of the Bernie Sanders campaign. How did Reclaim Philadelphia come to be?
So it basically came out of all of us, the staff. I was a volunteer, a lead volunteer in 2016 for the Sanders campaign. Launched canvases from my house, from my living room, and I fell kind of head over heels, not even just for the candidate exactly, but just for the experience of campaigning and canvassing, just because it brought you into closer contact with your neighbors, and it took you out of your head. I think a lot of people in these elections, they're online, they're debating people that they know, or they're debating people just in kind of like shadow boxing with people online. But you're forced to just meet people and have conversations with people that you wouldn't otherwise meet when you knock on doors for a candidate. And so all of us came away from that experience with a strong feeling that there was a progressive majority in Philadelphia, and it just needed to be organized. So in the second ward where I live, Sanders drew even with Hillary Clinton, and he won south of us in the first ward. And that wasn't just by accident, it came from our efforts. And so we knew that actually organizing works, basically. And so we wanted to keep it going. We wanted to keep the gang together. And so we kept meeting and trying to figure out what it was that we could do. And that's how we came up with the idea. I think we stole the name Reclaim. There's a Reclaim Chicago, and we're like, we'll call ourselves Reclaim Philadelphia. And then it stuck even after some of us were like a little worried about it. It's done. It's our name, and right. We feel it has a certain edge to it. And we just wanted to, campaigns come and go. I mean, presidential campaigns cycle through, and they knock on your door 50 times and then they leave, right? And then people don't respond to that well. You have to build something from the ground up. And so that's why we founded Reclaim. And so it came out of that. I think it came out of that experience of enjoying the organizing work, but wanting to create an institution that would sustain it beyond any particular campaign.
It's really had an impact on local politics too, with city council seats and district attorney and things like that.
Yeah, that has been, we, in 2016, there were about 50 of us who kind of came together and paid. We had a dues system, and that was our group of people. We managed to pull some Sanders volunteers into the 2016 to canvass, essentially for Hillary Clinton. We were also fighting to elect a state rep candidate in Northeast Philly named Joe Hohenstein, who won not in 2016, but he won in 2018. But the biggest thing that we did was to support Larry Krasner for district attorney. We played a role in recruiting him, in fact, to run for district attorney, and we were among the first organizations to endorse him. We knocked on something like 90,000 doors to get him elected, and that was an earthquake in Philly politics. We just have to remember he's been the district attorney now for 3 years, but he had never been a prosecutor. He had sued the police 75 times. I think he just had done a lot of things that would not make him suitable for elected office in various ways. And I think he was referred to as unelectable in various ways. But then he became the front runner pretty quickly. And not only that, the whole election, he pulled everyone to his side. And so that was incredible. And I think once we did that, it was citywide. I think all of us were like, well, what else can we do now? And so we helped recruit and support a candidate for state office in South Philly, Elizabeth Fiedler, who became a state representative. We supported candidates for election in the suburbs. Danielle Friel-Otten, Joe Hohenstein won. They flipped districts, that were formerly Republican. We supported Kendra Brooks for city council, the first independent city council person in Philadelphia history, Working Families Party candidate. We Isaiah Thomas, who won for election this last year, and we've supported the re-election of Helen Gim. And so we've done a lot, but I think those are candidates. Those reflect the successes of the movement, but the other success is just that the institution has survived. A lot of these things tend to come and go, and we've stayed.
Right. Yeah, because this is Philadelphia is a machine town, and right. You're obviously, the whole statement about fighting City Hall, nowhere is that more true than Philadelphia, where these things have been entrenched over the last 50, 60 years. And so when you're coming in to try to be a ward leader, they're not exactly welcoming you with open arms, because you're basically, it's almost,
I mean, who is this guy? He's some outsider, some fancy guy coming from LA and then New York City.
Right. I mean,
come on. You know how we are. We don't even. Johnny's been here 20 years, and we still don't really embrace him.
They still bust my chops. Oh, you're not real Philly. Oh, you don't know.
Right.
So, it had to have not been easy, to get that ward seat, because that's not how Philly politics moves. Philly politics moves at a very entrenched level where, you don't move out until you die. And then you're replaced by your son.
I hope to continue that tradition. We're raising a toddler. He's gonna take over this ward when I'm old. Right. Yeah.
But how in the world did you get in there, and how harsh was the opposition to it? Or is that just sort of a rumor that that's how hard it is to get into that?
It's not. It was hard and it wasn't hard. I mean, so it's hard, obviously. I'd say what wasn't hard is that, a lot of these things seem entrenched, but what is entrenching them is not hard work exactly. It's like loyalty, trust, and just familiarity, right? I mean, that's not always true. A lot of people, and I'll be talking about this in a bit, but I have gained a good deal of respect, I would say, or just admiration, maybe, for some of the kind of what people would refer to as the machine or what have you. Like, I get it. I get a lot of the staying power of it. But you just, if any of those things starts to fray, if the trust breaks, the loyalty breaks, if they're not, and then fundamentally, if they're not working very hard, then you can just outwork people. And so with the second ward, I just thought, they're not working very hard. People don't really know who their committee people are. They don't know what's going on in any elections. Like, they put out endorsements, and those endorsements don't carry in the ward. Something else happens. Larry Krasner wasn't endorsed by the second ward. Bernie Sanders wasn't endorsed by the second ward. But we could just push and knock doors, and without an infrastructure, without any support, we could do it. I mean, without the local party support, that is. And so that's what I did. We just worked harder. I recruited 40 people to run. That was an insane amount of work. I just had so many coffees at Shot Tower Coffee and 6th and Christian with so many people, and just asked them to run for committee person. And that's a lot of work in the sense that people don't want to. They don't. They're like, me, I should run for office. Like, it takes a lot of guts to do that, I think. And even just for a very local, small office, you got to talk to all your neighbors. You know what I mean? Like, you're the people you see every day, and you could lose. And that's even, in a way, it's like, it has more, it's just tighter and it's closer to you than running for state senate. I mean, I think it's just, or let alone a bigger office. And so they all ran. 33 people were elected, and we won just because we knocked more doors and we worked harder. And so you start to push it looks like a closed door, but the door is cracking. It's like falling apart, and you just really got to break it in. And I think that's how I was elected. I didn't actually run to be ward leader. I just wanted to change the local party. And because I led the effort, I was the natural person to be elected. But it wasn't with an intention of promoting myself. It was an intention of promoting more people. And then I had to lead it.
So how did you come to the decision to leave the lucrative world of freelance writing and try and become a senatorial candidate?
Well, it's just, why did I do it? The issue, I mean, for me, it was a sense of, I would say that I had not intended to. 10 years ago, certainly, if you had asked me whether I would run for office, I would have said no. Maybe even 5 years ago, it's not a long-term ambition of mine, but it has, the experience of doing all this work has been great. I just like it, honestly. I really like it. I like it makes me happy. I like the organizing. I like the community. Philly, we mentioned I'm not from here, but it's the first place I felt at home. It's actually, it's a pretty welcoming city, which is not its reputation.
Don't be saying that. Don't let people hear that. We hate foreigners. We hate people from other cities. Not foreigners, but people from New York especially.
Right.
Like
I'm from Los Angeles. It's not New York.
Yeah.
Guys like Greg,
not much better.
No,
but you try to protect that. Oh, don't come here. We're mean. But
yeah.
Here,
no, I don't. Sorry, no. It's a terrible. It's a really really mean place. No, it's just we've built a community. I'm like so proud to be. I'm raising my son a Sixers fan, which is really goes against every bone in my body. I just have to. But
that's proper parenting. I mean, you can be a Lakers fan, but he born here needs to be a Sixers fan.
It's true. We can't. I mean, he can't be a Lakers fan.
Yeah,
I wouldn't force that.
He can't be a terrible person, and I think that's
and probably bullied, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so it's just I think that has been part of it, and so wanting to put all that work into action and wanting to feel that, and then feeling, and it's a certainly more negative way to put this, is being a ward leader and dealing with state officials, dealing with political officials in Harrisburg. You suddenly start to feel like years and years of this has demoralized so many people, or they've lost their way, or they're just not ambitious, or they don't recognize the potential of their district or the people they work with. Maybe they've lost touch with them. They move solely among a set of like elites and institutions, and they don't seem to want to do anything exciting with their job. And granted, we have like crazy Republicans in Harrisburg who are trying to stymie it, are trying to kill us all. Literally, at this point. And so we just have to, it's not easy, but I just feel like I was like, no, we deserve better. And I need better for us. I need better for my family. I need better for the people I know. And so it didn't have to be me. That's the other thing, is I feel like someone posed it to me. They're like, what about you running for this seat? And I didn't horrify me. And so, and then I started to do it. I started to raise money. I started to do all the things that are not the fun part of this. And I liked it, I guess. Raising money is not something you should say that you like, but it's just, just the whole aspect of campaigning I liked. And I've always liked the policy side of it. I've always liked the organizing side. And so those are the kind of key things that you need. You need to be able to build relationships. You need to develop policy, and you need to be able to campaign. And I like all of those things. So
one thing that I read, there was a Politico article in March that was more or less, how are we going to come out of the COVID-19? How will we be different on the other side? And they interviewed a lot of different intellectuals and so forth. And somebody said, there's going to be a lot more respect for government work. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what your thoughts are on that, because we've seen over the last couple months, government just consistently fall down and fail. And especially on a federal level, but I think we've seen some of it, and some depending on which state and depending on which city. Do you think that maybe coming out of this, young people will say, you know what, I'm not just going to try to make as much money as possible. I'm going to try to make the country a better place?
I think so. I think that precedes the crisis a little bit. I think, I saw that in the Sanders campaign. In a way, I'm on the older end of I'm 37. I have a lot of friends now who are a lot younger because of the Sanders campaign. And so I was really impressed at the time. I was like, wow, everyone is so much more hopeful than I was I'm more hopeful now, I would say, than I was when I was 22. And maybe that's just a feature of being in your 20s, or that's what I thought. But actually, they just believe in stuff, and they will act on it and fight for it in a way that I didn't at the time. And so I think that precedes the crisis, and some of that is the legacy of the financial crisis, the Iraq War, and the sort of deepening recognition of what climate change. And so with COVID-19, one thing that you see is that a lot of the things that we had been asking for as a movement or what have you can be done. You can expand unemployment benefits.
Accessible overnight.
Overnight, right?
After decades of fighting for it, overnight it suddenly became accessible.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like you're just like, oh, paid leave. Like they passed it.
Right,
like it's just like, they just did it. And they're like, and it's like eviction moratorium. Like we're not going to kick you out of your house. And it's just like, we're not going to shut off your access to potable water. And so then it just makes sort of sense to be like, is it ever a good time to shut it off? Does it ever make sense to shut off access to water? Like, and so you start to ask those questions. And I think, and then it's so both the expectations of what we deserve and the expectations of what government can do. It can spend $1 trillion. It can do it. And it's like, it's like, oh, like, so all the questions about like, how, but how can we pay for it? It's like, it's
overnight.
Turns out, like you can pay for, no, we have trillions and it's just, and we just borrow and so, I mean, it's not, there are lots of things that aren't great about the recovery plans and like, it's still being fought over. And I think it's not a done by any means a foregone conclusion, but I think it's just, I do feel optimistic. And, the other thing I feel optimistic about is just like, the resilience of people.
Give us some optimism, because I think for a lot of us, this is a pretty dark day.
Yeah.
And the thought is, we see these guys show up with AR-15s on the Capitol steps of our state government, and it's like the bad guys are winning, and it's really hard to be optimistic. So give us some optimism.
Yeah. That stuff is not, there aren't that many of those people. I feel like they get, this is the other problem is like people do this and they get a lot of attention from the media and but if nurses show up on the Capitol, like it's just not covered, even though there are thousands more nurses than there are.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's part of it. But I think also the resilience of people and the creativity of people in this moment. I'm really impressed by what's going on in South Philly. There's this mutual aid Philly group. I think it's also South Philly and Center City that does grocery drop-offs. It does like cash payments to people who are undocumented and left out of the system. It's just like filled in the gaps of like the huge gaps. By filled in, I mean, it started to try to fill them in.
Right. Sure.
But that's without being able to talk to people, without being able to see them, without being able to, we can't forget how difficult it is to do what we're doing in a moment when we cannot go outside and talk to people in the way that we would. I just actually ran into neighbors when I was just like running in, mask on, to the grocery store to get some coffee. And like, I was like, I could just communicate things very quickly. I was just like, you guys got to vote by mail. I just told them this. And like, they actually hadn't gotten the message and they agreed to do it. And I was like, oh, like it would just be great if I could just do this. And we can't do it. But even so, we're actually able to achieve a lot. And so I think that's the sheer creativity of what we're able to do in a moment when we cannot see each other is really the guiding light for me here.
Yeah, like times like this when you can't really canvass, is that an advantage to the incumbent that you guys can't get out there and knock on doors as much?
So, we thought that it would be, honestly, like we thought that it would be because we believe in it. That's our tradition, as I described. Like I came out of that. And so not being able to do it, certainly for about a week or two, we were very just disconcerted, even though our team, our campaign staff very quickly got on the phones and we were making phone calls, like thousands of phone calls. So we were ready to do it. And like, but we're all in the same position, and TV and all that stuff, like doesn't really, since we're all on the phones, like, my opponent is on TV constantly. Mm-hmm. He's just blanketing the district in mail. He's just raised boatloads of money from developers and fossil fuel companies and, what have you. And so like, and we don't take that money. And to be clear, we haven't been offered that money, but we would not take it if they offered it to us.
Right.
And
it'd be nice for them to offer it though, just to turn it
down.
down.
At least so I could reject it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. thank you for the offer, but no.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful. Very thoughtful.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for the phone
Yeah,
call.
it's just nice to be wanted. You know?
So, it's just, it's just not, we're able to persuade people on the phones, and we have a different method. I mean, it's not the same as talking to people in person, but we appeal to the same set of conversations, and people are just, it's like the phones are worse when you can canvas. Calling people on the phone is a worse option. It's not as good.
Right.
But when it's the only option, it's fine. It's just like, it's totally fine. And actually everyone is doing it. And if you have the hundreds of volunteers supporting it, if you have the authentic enthusiasm behind you, that's all you need. It's that, and it helps to be able to put mail in. That's not the only way to contact people, but you can somewhat replace it.
Well, I want to roll back a little bit, and let's talk. You released a book called Cubed back in 2015 that was talking about life, office life, and I think this was before you even were thinking about politics. But you released a book about office life, and I'm kind of fascinated by the future of the country when it comes to that, because I feel like a lot of people are suddenly figuring out, I don't need to fly to Wichita to be at that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I need to say can be said on Zoom or whatever. What do you think the impact is going to be, as somebody that's actually studied this? What do you think the impact is going to be in terms of how people communicate for business?
Yeah, it's a good question. So going back to as someone who's studied the history of working from home. Obviously, it goes further back than the history of the office, because people work from home still. Domestic labor, all that stuff is still true. But I feel that it was, the original reason to kind of pioneer working from home was someone in Los Angeles was just like traffic stops here in the 70s. That's when it was like the late 70s. And they're like, can we figure out a way? And they had this very rudimentary networking system. And in the 80s, a lot of people thought that in the future, there would be no cities at all. We would all just have these electronic villages across the country, and we would just be networked. And then, so that didn't turn out to be true. So actually cities became more important in some ways, and more parts of cities actually resemble offices. So cafes, and we carry our offices everywhere in various ways. And we do office work everywhere. So one, I'm just sort of hesitant to make predictions, but I think the thing is, what happens with these things is that it starts to clarify what offices are for. And so I think it just puts more pressure on offices to deliver more things. So I think what's likely to happen is a lot of companies are going to shrink their office footprint. Right. So that was already a trend. I think they're except in New York or places where they were booming, lots of companies starting out. Other places were converting office space to condos and things like that. That's what was happening. Right. And so I think there's going to be, and the cubicle, was one of the kind of heart of my book, the study of the cubicle, has gotten smaller and smaller over the years because the offices skimp on office space for employees. So I think they're just going to have less of it. And you're going to be required probably less to go into work less. But I'm not super optimistic. I got to say, I feel like there's going to be ways that people can track you at home. It's not corporate America is not a friendly place. They're not and so just because they let you work from home doesn't mean they're not going to find ways to kind of follow you around. We're already followed around with ads and all that stuff, and all our devices are listening in on us. It's not that hard, I think. And so we should be, even though I think there will be more working from home and more kind of fluid arrangements, we should be a little wary of it, I think. And just the only thing that ever changes office environments for the good is people really acting collectively to change them. So that was the other kind of theme of my book, is I always wondered why office workers didn't organize in the same way that, in America anyway, in the same way that blue collar workers did, or, you know, just, or like, you know, you just had strikes and stuff. You just never really had that in office spaces. But there were instances like in the 70s, administrative assistants, then called secretaries, who were largely women, were like, well, this sucks. I'm sick of making coffee for my boss all the time. I'm sick of doing his dry cleaning. I'm sick of like being a therapist and a psychological help. And then I'm sick of being harassed. So there was actually organizing among secretaries and to stop that. And then it kind of changed the whole nature of harassment. And I mean, it changed the workplace completely. And so that's how these things change, I think, is ultimately like people just deciding that they have to take control of that. That may happen this time. And if it does, that would be great. Without that happening, it's not going to be, I don't know that the expectations may change around how people work, but mainly cost cutting is the thing that drives off.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering, you know, between that, what you've researched with that, and what you've now done with, you know, with the Bernie campaign and with your own Reclaim Philly stuff, you know, you guys are you're obviously very in tune with workers, but that's getting ready to change dramatically because we've just, you know, lost over 30% of the workforce. So what, you know, do you foresee, and here's something that I'm always on the fence about, is it going to be a thing where people are only going to hire back certain people and everybody else is going to get left behind? Or do you think that workers are only going to come back if they come back with more power? And I'm really curious about how that, because, you know, obviously it's going to be sort of a buyer's market because there's everybody's unemployed. So you get sick of who's out there, you know, but at the same time, I also get the impression that it's going to be pretty bad PR for companies to say, oh, we're going to bring back good people and pay them like crap because we can.
Right.
It's a choice. Ultimately, it's a choice that we make as a society. I think there's I think we can, you know, there have been a lot of strikes in this moment. There have been a lot of people, and striking when tons of people are unemployed, when it's like a scary time, is a really risky decision. Like it's a really,
I mean, it's heroic.
Extremely. And so all that kind of work is, you know, it just shows that there's a lot of, you know, Amazon warehouse workers, Whole Foods workers, like we haven't seen strikes from these sectors. And partly it's changed that we now consider these workers, or we're finally considering them as essential, right? I think that change in the language, that we all say that now, even if we may not mean it as much as we should, is a big change. And we'll see how much meaning gets put into that, how long people continue to think of workers like nurses but grocery store clerks and delivery people like as essential. I hope a long time. And so if that continues to be true, then I think these strikes will have like broad, or like, you know, actions, anything like that. People just being like, I'm not going to come back to work if I don't have hazard pay and protective equipment or what have you. There's a lot of community support for that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
In you know, more than there was. And so that's sort of the question. I mean, like it's not just how much the workers can expect, but how many other people are willing to support them in particular sectors. And so that's always been, I think, the success of worker actions is like, when teachers go on strike, it's not just how much can the teachers take, but how much are people going to back them up? How much are parents? How much are students? How much is the whole community going to back up this sector of the workforce?
Yep.
So,
while we got you here, I wanted to ask you about an issue that some areas of Philadelphia are dealing with. Like, what are your ideas on how to improve neighborhoods without actually gentrifying them and pushing out people who've lived there for 20, 30 years?
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, I think that I mean, it's funny. I mean, having lived in a lot of cities that where the gentrification where they're just richer. I mean, like Los Angeles, New York. I went to graduate school in San Francisco. You would see the gentrification in a much faster pace. And moving to Philadelphia initially, I was like, oh, it's affordable. It's, you know, but then watching neighborhoods like Graduate Hospital, which was, it was 80% Black in like 2000, around that time, like 20 years ago. working class neighborhood, and now has become 80% white and is the richest neighborhood in Philadelphia. Like that's like
Hey, Richie Rich there lives out there now.
Wait a second.
Hey,
years ago, okay.
You're part of the problem now. The issue is just like I think you just need protections for people, and you need ways. You need affordable housing. You need protections for renters. I think in the last 12 years since Senator Farnese has been the senator, we've had $1 billion come into this district through state money. 14 million has gone to affordable housing, and like that number you might think is large, but it's actually only 1,500 units. And $25 million has gone in state funding to Comcast, for example, the Comcast tower in a single year, right? And so you're like, well, who needs this more, Comcast or the people who need affordable housing? Like, what are the resources that we need? So we basically, as a society, we need to prioritize more affordable housing construction. And then I think we need to be considering more the rights of renters. I think we think about it as a lot of small landlords and homeowners, but it's actually over more than half of the people who live in Philly are renters. And renters are more likely in Philly to be working class. Like they're compared with homeowners, partly because they don't earn wealth. They're not, homes are a source of wealth often. And so we need some form of rent stabilization so that rents aren't going up by some arbitrary amount in a year. There's no cap on how much you can charge for rents. It's just the market. And that can be not the right amount. And so, but the other thing is I feel like that's scary because people think about rent control and they're like it didn't work. That's scary. It causes neighborhoods to go south. It disincentivizes new construction. If you're a landlord, you're like scared about it. And it's not, some of it hasn't worked before, but I think you should just think about it as neighborhoods can thrive. Actually, other things can come in, businesses can come in, retail can grow, a neighborhood can grow, but people can stay in their homes. If there's like a cap of a certain amount on how much you're meant to increase the rent. Doesn't mean you can't increase it at all. It just it's like you can't increase it by 30%. It's like not an insane, and so you can be creative about it, you can be thoughtful about it, but I think that's a big thing. Making sure that people aren't evicted without cause. I mean, there's just a lot of, but really, that is the answer. There isn't it's not, in a way, it's not rocket science. It's like, just build the housing, build more affordable housing, protect the people who are renting and who have their homes. And right now we should really be, people are not able to pay their mortgages and people are not able to pay their rents. A lot of people, or if they pay them now, they won't pay them in a month from now or 2 months. And so we really need a program to, effectively to cancel mortgages and rents, to forbear them, to make sure that people don't have to pay them. It's not their fault. It's not their fault that they can't pay their rent, and so, it's our society is shut down. That's what we've asked people to do. They have to stay in their homes. How do we allow that to happen? So.
Yeah. And, you hope that now that more people realize the fear of being a month away from, going into having to pay a rent or a mortgage, I feel like a lot more people in the last 2 months have been faced with that for the first time in their lives. And now all of a sudden they're hopefully a little bit more empathetic, and say, oh, wow, this is really scary because it's never happened, but now I can't work. And talking about a third of the country that's out of work. So I'm hoping that now that more people have faced that fear, that they're going to be a little bit more empathetic to people who face it when there's not a pandemic.
Yes. Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I think there's been both. I've seen both. I mean, honestly, I hope so. I think ultimately you have to, this is like the organizing thing. Like you have to organize the sentiment where it exists. Like if people are more likely to be, there's always antagonists and passive allies and active people working, and you kind of have to organize the passive allies. People who aren't, actively helping renters right now, but sympathize. How do you make that more prominent? So,
gotcha.
You take it to the blunt?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
All
So
right. Rapid fire questions, rapid fire answers. All right. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
mostly there's no wrong answers.
Yeah, but a few.
Yeah.
All right. So if you played Major League Baseball, what would your at bat music be?
What would my at bat music be? It would be.
Yeah, something to get you fired up when you're coming.
Oh, it would be a Bollywood song. So I'd have to, because
I would love that. As a Philadelphia Phillies season ticket holder, I would love to hear a Bollywood song.
So there's a good Bollywood song from it was called Bill Say. It's called Chaya Chaya. Anyway, everyone should look it up. It's just I can't. It's and not everyone's gonna know it, but it's a banger.
All right.
All right. Favorite Philly dive bar.
I guess I have to say New Wave, right? No, I mean,
is that a dive? I mean, they might be a little upset to hear that they're dive.
It's tricky. It's always tricky with the dive bar thing.
Yeah, they got like $24 specials. Neighborhood. They're a good neighborhood bar.
Right.
I'd say that. So the Pen and Pencil is my favorite. I don't know. That's my
late night guy.
It's quiet. There's no music. I feel like people underestimate how nice that is when you can just it's good. Yeah, Pen and Pencil.
All right.
If you hosted a late night talk show, what person, living or dead, would be your first interview?
What person, living or dead, would be your first interview? Rosa Luxemburg, the old socialist from the 20th century. Great. Anyway, that would be the two would be. I don't know. I feel like that there's probably a better answer to that. But she would be.
I feel like I'm probably even more familiar with the Bollywood song than I am with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, you've written for the New Yorker. Have you ever finished an issue of the New Yorker in 1 week?
I don't know if I can answer. I should answer this on the record. No, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed. You just flip around. You go to the movie reviews first.
But then the next one comes, and then suddenly you got 13 piled up.
Yeah. It's true. So no is the answer for it.
What's your karaoke song?
Oh, it's "Common People" by Pulp.
Oh yeah! Oh, great song.
Came from Greece. She's got a.
There's a great
thirst for knowledge.
There's a great cover by what's his name from Star Trek.
Really? Wait, you mean Kirk
or
the other?
Shatner does a cover of that.
Really?
Oh, it's
no, I didn't know that.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. In fact, I think I heard the cover, and then I went back and looked at the original. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, it's a little long as a karaoke, so it's like 5 minutes, but it's like sometimes I might do "Nobody Does It Better." That's my the James Bond theme.
Yeah.
But that's like But anyway.
Salsa or guacamole?
Guacamole. Yeah.
Budget's no object. What artist or group do you want playing at your birthday party?
Can it be living or dead, or it's got to be
living or dead? It's fine.
Prince.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm bummed Reef's not here because Reef would have been all over that.
Do you prefer out of the shower to use a robe or a towel?
I prefer a robe, but in fact, I don't even have one. So like when I'm in a hotel that has a robe or something, you're like, it's really indulgent. Yeah.
What's a book we should all read?
Besides Cubed, I guess.
Besides Cubed.
Yeah, sure. Now on Amazon.com for a low introductory rate of.
What's a good book? It's a great Italian novel, My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. That's a great book. Everyone should read that.
Okay.
Yep.
If you had to be one celebrity for a day, who would it be?
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah, I mean, just especially now, I feel like has never seemed.
Yeah, coming into his groove.
I thought he was phenomenal in what's it called?
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time, yeah, and like there was actually when we saw it in the movie theater. there's a scene where he's on the roof fixing like an antenna, and he takes off his shirt, and the person next to me just went, ooh, like very audibly, like it was just like not even disguising, and I was just like, yeah, the guy is like 50 something, like anyway.
Yeah, that would be bad. Usually I hear this, it's like, ugh.
Right. No, but this was like yeah,
it'd be nice.
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
What advice do you give to 18-year-old you?
Oh, what advice would I give?
Move to Philly sooner.
Yeah.
Right. Just yes. Yeah. Why did I go to? I thought San Francisco was nice. It's not. It's not.
Right.
It's really not. It really sucks now. God. It really is just the worst place. Everyone hates it.
It's just everybody's either a millionaire or homeless, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically
Middle class in San Francisco. I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't know.
And then those millionaires. I mean, all millionaires are bad, but like truly the worst group of people. Like just like, I mean, it does not get worse than the tech millionaire. Like it doesn't.
Right. At least old money knows how to act.
Yeah, they've got like the tech people, like they just are. I mean, they invented the stupid phones that we all have to deal with. Like they're just ruining our lives. It's like it's them. Yeah.
Well, I want to see if you can give a truly political answer here. Who's better looking, me or Johnny?
What? There's no third option. What about where's the third host?
Reef's on the road. Reef had to go back.
That's why I had an answer. Easy win if Reef's here. Of course it's Reef, but now it's us two schlubs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Have both of you cut your hair? Is this like, because you feel you look
I don't have any hair really. So.
Greg doesn't have hair, so
I'm the guy. I was in powder back in the day. I don't know if you saw my movie.
My wife has been bugging me for 2 weeks to let her cut my hair, and I think this weekend.
Do it.
Yeah, I think this weekend I'm finally going to let it happen.
So my wife is not excited about it. I'm ready to let her just go do it. I'm not.
See,
she won't
he passed. You see how good he was? He didn't answer. He deflected to the hair.
I know. I am political.
Yeah, he found a different
answer the question that I want you to have asked.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was great talking to you, Nikhil. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, man. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be on the show. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope to see you in person at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
2022. Right. See you there.
Yeah.
All right.
Later.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure. Take care.
Thanks, buddy.